Good evening, everybody. Here we are, Wednesday night, the 10th of April, episode 131. Famous number for a few. The great Ronald Dale Barassi behind me for the Demons. And plenty of 31s. We might get the boys to see if they've got a 31 for us. We haven't done this one for a while. So let's see what we're up to. But episode 131, also what's been happening, we have titled this one, Still Got the Blues. After Essendon's defeat last week, we've kind of been called the Moz, or the death wish, basically, that we've gone and mozzed the Bombers now. So let's see if that trend continues this week once we jump on the Blues. One of the biggest rivalries of all time was actually Carlton and Essendon, as well as the Hawks and a few others, the big clubs in the old days of the VFL. So we're going to talk tonight. We're going to talk to Queenie also as well, which is good. Talk about her new single. Hopefully she gets a chance to jump on her new single, Not Devine. And just a couple of gigs before we kick off. I'm going to bring these up. We've got tonight, after this, you can head down to the 7-Ups playing at Shock Kickers. That should be a good one with a band called Busted Chops. So great name. Make sure you check that one out. And that's your Wednesday night covered. Thursday, Friday night, actually, get down to George Lane with the Sand Pebbles. This should be a good one as well. So Claire Birchall, I think, support. So that's a good one. If you can't get there, get across to the Gem Friday night. Skyscraper Stand and the Commission Flats. They're playing 3 gigs, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Friday is upstairs, I believe, at the Gem, which is a rarity. Saturday at the Union and Sunday at Labour in Vain. But first of all, Friday, you get to see Skyscraper Stand upstairs, and downstairs you get to see our great friend Emily South straight after that. So that'll be a cracker. And I'm pretty sure Queenie's DJing at that gig at downstairs at the Gem. So try and get along to that one. So that's your Friday covered, but we've got another one. Just across the road a little bit, Andre Warhurst is playing in the Rarebirds, playing at Luli Tavern. So make sure there's plenty of opportunities there for a Friday night if you're not going to watch footy. And on the Saturday, your great friend Carl Kelly is going to open for Skyscraper Stand at Labour in Vain. So definitely make sure you check that one out. That's the Sunday gig for Skyscraper Stand. But getting back to Saturday, 10 Gallon Head, they've got their album launch for their new album and the special guest band, The Cheeses. So make sure you check that one out. Some great band names in amongst all this. And Friday, April 13th, which is a Saturday, the Miffs are playing at Luli Tavern with Immigrant Union and Liam Watts. So there's plenty of music on here that we've put on. Bob Log III at the Gem with Spunk and Salmon Sisters. So that'll be a killer. If you haven't seen Bob Log III, you're in for an absolute treat. And then Sunday, Dave Wright and the Midnight Ramblers at the Gem. So it's pretty much the Gem, Luli, and then you're off to the Tote on Sunday. This is an all-ages event. If you haven't seen Coffin before, they're a killer, hard kind of punk band doing some great things. So make sure you get out amongst it and check all that out. Plenty on, they say. All right, plenty on, boys. Let's talk about the Great Blues. Are they the Great Blues? That's the big question we're going to go and cover tonight. We've got a special guest that's going to join us as well, hopefully, if all works out. Hopefully no technical difficulties this week, but you never know. Now that I've said it, it'll probably happen. So welcome back, Lovey.
How are you, mate?
Yeah, good, mate. Wednesday night, we get to do it all again, and we get to find the next.
I think you are the king of Moz. I think, without a shadow of a doubt. Every time I feel like every time you've opened your mouth from a sports perspective lately, now the opposite's happened. So, yes, hopefully you rub off brilliantly tonight and Carlton lose 10 on the trot and pretty much go out of finals. That'd be wonderful. Just a quick one. You mentioned the number 31, real quick.
Yeah,
a few. I'm going to rattle off a few. Aaron Sandilands, Tom Alvin, Brett Kirk, Hugh Mitchell, Jeff Saru. Remember Big Jeff Saru for St Kilda that used to run not just the football club and the footy ground, but all the nightclubs back around the southern suburbs there. You got Will Schofield, Cora McKernan played, ton of games for North Melbourne in number 31. So there's a few there besides Ronald Dahl, but I think Ronald Dahl holds the number 31 candle for eternity, that one.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's not forget the great, soon to be great, Bailey Fritsch at the team.
Oh, you're full of shit. Don't be like these Carlton people.
You've always got to promote someone, mate. You've always got to promote someone. So, Cuz, what about you, mate? Who's up for number 31 for you? You got one?
Oh, obviously, in the back corner, Ronald Dahl goes without saying. Lovely mentioned some greats. Dustin Fletcher comes to mind.
Yep.
Pretty good 31. And then obviously, I think for a character of the game, Tommy Elvin with his long hair back in the day. I remember watching highlights of him getting tackled by the hair. Imagine that happened to someone today. They'd get weeks for doing it.
Yep, absolutely.
That's a conversation to have later on tonight. Trust me. Not hair pulling.
The tribunal.
Not hair pulling, just tribunal. Yeah.
Tribunal doesn't stand for inconsistency.
I mean, hair pulling.
And to back up what Lovey said too, I haven't jumped on the Carlton bandwagon, but you've asked me to bring something to the party, so that's why I bought the jumper tonight. My sister is a passionate Carlton supporter.
Yep.
And she's got quite a bevy of jumpers. This is actually, she bought this for number 7. It's on the back. I can show you in a minute, for Dylan Buckley. And we know what great work Dylan Buckley's doing with his podcast and that now. But yeah, she said, show that one. The boys will love it, she said. Pardon the pun.
I would have thought number 7. I would have thought it'd be for the Dominator.
Yeah.
That's what she liked playing John. That's what I said as well. But she goes, no, Dylan Buckley.
We're going to cover a few things off tonight. We're going to cover the current crop of Carlton Blues, and we're also going to cover a few magic moments. So we'll talk about that one shortly. But what we're going to do before we bring in real Carlton and talk too much Carlton, is we've got a special guest tonight again, which we're kind of probably going to do this a little bit. We broke up last week with bringing Dan Brody on, talking about a new single. So we're just going to do a little couple of minutes spot with this lovely young lady who has been able to release another single at this time of the world where music's at, and the pressure that's on musicians, and it's a great time to get her music out. This is the lovely Eloise Thetford, also known as Queenie. She's been a guest on our show a couple of times, and it won't be the last time. So we're going to bring her up for a quick chat. Welcome, Miss Queenie.
Hi, everyone.
How are you?
Hello.
How's it going?
Where are you?
Where are you?
I'm 1990 Holden Rodeo right now.
Perfect. The Hodeo. Yeah.
As long as it looks somewhere safe, because it doesn't look like it's somewhere safe.
I mean, at least I'm locked in, so that's...
Lock the doors. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
In the back.
And are you warm? Are you warm? That's the more important thing.
I'm cozy. I'm snuggly.
Perfect. Get the heater on. Put the heater on. Start the car. All right. What we're going to talk about tonight, obviously, Queenie, and thanks for joining us. It was great to see you the other night. Thornbury Bowls Club. The joint was packed. It was April 5th, so 5 days ago now. How does it feel to be out playing a packed venue again, sold out in Thornbury Bowls Club? The place was rocking. Fantastic to be able to release a new single at this stage.
Oh, it was so good. It was like, I was saying to my managers afterwards, it was the most wholesome gig I've done in such a long time. Like, it just felt I was playing in my lounge room to all of my friends. So yeah, it was mad. At a bowls club.
Yeah, it was kind of, I haven't been to the Thornbury Bowler for quite some time, but to go back there and play, it's kind of like a pretty intimate little gig. Can be quite loud there with the bar and everything rocking along, but you didn't let that worry you. You just turned the amps up a little bit more and blew the doors off the place. But it was great to see. Just tell us a little bit about how it feels to be back. Most importantly, playing that place and releasing a new single with an album to follow. You got another new single coming soon. Not Devine. Tell us a little bit about the song.
Well, this song's probably, maybe nearly 2 years old now, I think. It's sort of one of the more newer song.
Yep.
And it it was kind of just a skeleton when I went into the studio with my producer, Josh Barber, who's a genius. And it was kind of like a last minute. I mean, we had a bit of studio time and decided that we wanted to maybe just finish off a couple of songs that I kind of had floating that weren't finished. And it was like an extended session with a bottle of wine, and we kind of banged out like 3 songs, and Not Divine was one of them. So, and then it just kind of morphed into the first single, which was awesome. It was such a great process to, you know, to have the song pretty much done from start to finish in such a short period of time. So it was, yeah, one of those moments where it just kind of falls out and it doesn't take a lot of brain power to finish it. So yeah, I was really lucky in that sense. Yeah,
absolutely. All right, we're going to play a little bit of the clip, play a minute or so, and then we'll just talk about the clip itself and the lead up to it all, making it happen. Here we go with Not Divine.
Woo!
I've been waiting most of my life to feel something warmer inside. Why won't you just hold my hand just for a single night? Breathing shallow, hoping it's right. Can't make out the shapes in the light. My skin crawls and I can't go back, so I ask you twice.
There you go. How good is that? That is an awesome track. It really builds to this big crescendo. I still get the hairs standing up, the little hair I've got, but on the arms at least. Fantastic, Queenie. I'm super proud of you, mate, on this one. The film clip's awesome too. I know the boys are going to have a quick question for you before we let you go. But congratulations, most importantly, on the new single, and we can't wait for the next one. So we'll have you on again soon.
Aw, thanks, Dave. Thanks for having me as always. You know,
no problem.
One of my best supporters. I'm pretty lucky.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're pretty lucky.
We're lucky. We're very lucky.
Yeah, just a quick one. Some bowls clubs, they're always awesome. They're great for entertainment. Love them. Best in the world. You get quite the eclectic personality traits in there in some of those. But along with this single and the new music, so I don't think Aaron's provided me or us with any dates, or if you're doing any form of local tour. I mean, are you going out to a heap of pubs and stuff as well, or clubs beyond the bowls clubs, or what's the go for you in the next 6 months?
I'm just gonna have to do an exclusive bowls club tour. It's on the
just bowls clubs.
Yeah, just bowls clubs.
Yeah.
We've got a tour planned for the later half of the year once the album's out. But yeah, we're laying a little bit low for a bit. We've got a show up in Lower Belford in New South Wales for the Gumball Festival, and I think we've got books really for the next couple of months. I'm sure things will pop up, but the tour hopefully September-ish, I reckon.
Yeah, because I hear that single, and it'd be awesome, be able to go down to a festival down at Torquay and all that sort of stuff, and be able to hear you go for 30 minutes or so. So hopefully you are going to start hitting the road a lot and all the rest of it, because we love your music, and I've got you on Spotify. So Look out. Look out. Make sure you get on the road.
I will. I'm so bored with my life if I'm not out playing shows.
even if it's in that dark rodeo.
Exactly. Yeah, rodeo show.
Yeah.
Rodeo.
Definitely. All right,
Queenie, you've got an amazing voice, and it's lovely. And so we're blessed to have you on. With that, with that recent single or whatever in the album, what was your sort of inspiration behind it? Was it over a number of years, or just something, as you briefly touched on earlier, that you come to pretty quickly?
The album is definitely it's sort of a collation of songs I've written. A lot of them are within the last 3 years or so, but there's a couple in there that I wrote when I was, maybe 20 or 21, so they're pretty old. And then a couple other songs that we sort of rejigged that were like collaborations with me and a couple of musicians that I've been a couple of years back. So it's kind of a bit of a mishmash of songs. A lot of them are fairly recent, I guess, inspired by my recent breakups over the last 3 years. I've had lots of inspiration. But yeah, it is a bit of a smorgasbord, as they say, of songs, as most people's first albums usually, a collection of songs that you've been holding on to over the years. But yeah, it's pretty recent.
That's fantastic. Sounds fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
Well, one thing I can guarantee you all when you get to see a next Queenie gig, and killqueenie.com is what you're checking out. And also make sure you jump on cheersquad.com.au, Cheer Squad Records and Tapes, which Queenie has just signed to for her album deals and publicity, which is awesome. Not just publicity as well. I know you've got Asia and the whole crew right behind you. So it's awesome to have that kind of backing and support. And it's great to have probably comfortable, familiar faces in the room as well when you play a gig and blow everyone away like you do. So
thanks, AC.
Thanks for joining us, Queenie. We'll let you go on a Wednesday night. We'll let you drive to wherever's next.
The bush.
It's not an Uber, is it, Queenie? You are driving yourself, or you just...
Oh yeah, I'd be pretty worried if someone rocked up in a beat up old rodeo to pick me up in it.
There you go. Maybe we can organise that. Joyrides by Queenie in a Holden rodeo.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
There's another single.
Eloise, we will catch up with you soon. We look forward to the next one. See you at a gig.
All the best, Queenie. Thanks for coming on.
Ciao.
How cool to have Queenie, boys. Join us once again. Great song. Killer song.
That voice is ridiculously good.
Killer album.
How good's her voice?
Yeah.
She's phenomenal.
Her voice always good.
I am biased, but she's phenomenal. That's for sure. So make sure you go and check her out. All right, boys, we're going to move on. We're going to move on back to the Blues. And let's see if we've still got the Blues for sure. We've got another special guest who's a friend of mine and also probably one of the more passionate blues men. So he's going to be the man in the room that kind of keeps the story bubbling along positively for Carlton. And is it a positive one? That's the question, as we try and break it down for him and tell him where the Blues are going to fail. Obviously, you two boys, let's give Andre, our next guest, a little bit of background on you two boys being Bombers fans. So there's always going to be the hatred towards the Bombers, of course. The Blues, of course. But I'll sit here as kind of the neutral, I guess you'd say, in the room and steer the ship as I do. But let's bring him up. Boys, I'll let him quickly introduce himself and where he kind of fits in. But welcome, mate. Fellow Blues, passionate man, Andre Batulis. Welcome, boys.
Hey, boys. Lovely to be on the show. Yes, I am a very passionate Blues man. Been there since day dot. Dad dragged me in. Almost a Collingwood supporter, actually. Dad was a Collingwood supporter when he first started out. But as an age-old story, got offered $5 in a Carlton jumper by his old man, and he transferred over to the Blues. And I guess I just followed suit. So, yeah, look, the start of the season. I'm I'm a very humble supporter, given we haven't had a great success since I can remember. So I'm not getting too ahead of myself, but I will say this to start off. I think after this week, I think it'll really show us where we're at with GWS and Geelong coming up after Adelaide. So that'll be certainly good. I'm not sure where you guys think as Essendon supporters and Melbourne, like you as. But I think we're tracking along okay. I'm not getting ahead of ourselves yet because I don't think we've versed any serious contenders as of yet, even though Richmond showed heart. Brisbane are still going to be a contender. Yep. I mean, and we had North Melbourne the week before. So, Fremantle are going to be good, which was an arm wrestle. So yep. It'll be very interesting to see.
Well, let's touch on firstly the latter part of last year, which was building effectively for where you've set up to for this year. But an incredible finish to the year, obviously finishing in a make finals, win a final, and on well on the march, very much so. So, what was your thoughts during that phase, being not playing finals for so long? Was it something you thought you could get back to quickly, meaning continue the momentum, or did you ever think you were even a sneaky chance to kind of go all the way and even make a grand final last year?
Look, I didn't think we were a sneaky chance to go all the way. I just didn't think those missing pieces, I think, are still there. I did think after the previous year, so 22, I thought we were just off making the finals, and I did expect us to at least make top 8, but to make it as a deep of a run as we did in the finals last year. I mean, Sydney, I backed us against Sydney, even though we just sort of scraped through. But, Melbourne, that was an unbelievable finish to a game. And I thought, geez, how the hell did we scrape that one off? And I think, look, the Brisbane one, we started red hot. 5 goals up. But, when you get that far ahead against a quality side in the finals and that early in the game, I just took it for an absolute win of the season. It's probably the most... Look, I'm only 25, and I think this is probably the most successful season I've seen the Blues have. So I wasn't alive, and just to give you a context, I wasn't alive at 95, boys. So I haven't seen much success since my time, a short time. So I think I was very very stoked with the run. But everyone's tipping us to make at least the grand final would be success. But I'd be even happy with a prelim, to be honest. Like, I still think it's
keep on pumping this thing up. I just love it. Keep building that bubble. Keep building that bubble. If
I don't want to set myself up for all this backlash.
I tell you what, keep building up, because I take away Talladega Nights. If you're not first, you're last anyway. Who gives a shit? But I like the fact that I absolutely, when I first saw you on the camera just then, Andre, I could tell you hadn't seen a premiership. Still, Steve Kernahan was still getting pissed Friday afternoons as part of his job before he plays football. Yeah. So, been a while for you blokes. We're only 5 years more advanced. Let's be fair. Let's be honest. But I don't know. I think as a starved supporter, you probably can't help but get ahead of yourself at some stage. If you're Let's go to round 15, and if you're 12-3, which is an absolute reality, a possibility in reality, I won't go to you so much, Andre. What will your family be like? Because clearly it's all Carlton. Will the lid be off in the household? What's the go? How does it work there?
I would say, we'll put it this way, if we beat both Geelong and GWS, the lid will well and truly be off. I think if we go, what would we be then? 7-0 if we beat Adelaide as well. If we win the next 3 games, I'd be like, geez, we are on here. That's when I'll really start to be like, no, don't convince me otherwise. I think because like Geelong, I went and watched. So I was at Gather Round last weekend, which was just phenomenal weekend, and just watching Geelong live, I was like, crap, they're good. So that's why I feel if we can get over the line against them and AWS, mate, I'll be trying to get grand final tickets in June. So.
I love it. Now, Andre,
just a word of warning. Sorry, go Klaus.
the thing that I think Lovely's just better touch on, I don't know what Az told you about coming on tonight, because Lovely and I are both Bomber supporters. The Carlton jump in the background, that's my sister. She's a passionate Blue girl. But last week, we had an episode about the Bombers and whether the Bombers were still flying high, and we saw what that did. So Az is the lead balloon to your football side success. So unfortunately, all the talk about the Blue Baggers tonight, Az has the touch, not Midas. He's the other end of Midas. He hasn't got the gold touch. He's got the Az jumps on board and everyone jumps off. He's the ship sinker. So, mate, I love your optimism, but AC could be the downfall of the Blue Baggers.
Yeah, just a little bit of word, just one word of advice. Essendon were 9-2 in James Hurd's second year, and we were fine, sitting second on the ladder. And unfortunately, all of our Musashi supplements sort of gave way for the second half of that year, and we started getting a few injuries. So just be wary of not getting too far ahead of yourself.
I'm aware. My uncle's an Essendon supporter, so I'm conscious of all those years.
We've got zero optimism. We're like what you blokes probably were in 2017. So we've got zero optimism right now. We just battle our way through every single week, put on the same shit, hope they win, and if they don't, well, we're kind of used to it. So ride the lightning. Ride the lightning.
Yeah, well, I know we're going to talk about the Blues, but I knowing that you both are Bombers supporters, were you on board with this Essendon edge thing?
Well played, mate.
The fact you gave it that thing, mate, get him off as no more flicking.
The only thing I like about the edge is that we haven't hit it yet. Yeah. And if we hit the edge, I'm pretty much going to fall off it, and we're fucked by about round 15. So, look, I don't know. I don't even know why Brad Scott even said. I mean, he said dumb shit at North Melbourne. So, I think he's just following tact here. Well, the edge, whatever. All good.
100%. 100%.
Yeah, it's not quite an edge yet, and if it was an edge, it's not a very sharp one. So it's the bluntest plastic knife you'll ever come across. But anyway, we jinxed them. So the question is, have we jinxed the Blues for this week? So, boys, let's just touch on this week's game. This is a big one after Gabba round, and you're probably lucky that you didn't get Adelaide in Adelaide, I guess. They're going to be pretty hungry after the Demons got them. Let's face it, this is probably the worst start Adelaide's had for quite some time. And there's a lot of pressure on Adelaide to now deliver. So they probably get the Blues at a good time where they're super hungry. What's your thoughts, Andre? Obviously, might be a few changes in the Blues potentially this week. What's your thoughts on how it's going to go?
Well, knowing obviously Fogarty's out anyway, he's got a fractured wrist or something like that, and then so he's sort of missing the week anyway with the suspension. But then, tell you what, if you get Walshy back in, I wouldn't expect him to tear the game apart, but it certainly add a little bit of depth. Maybe get Kennedy back in the forward line, which he actually doesn't do too bad in. I just think I would go in pretty confident. I know they're going to be hungry. I know it would probably be relatively even in the midfield, but I think the way that we're tracking at both ends of the field, pretty confident that we'll be able to sort of steer that, I guess, because they're going to come out pretty fast, pretty hard. That's sort of what they do with the younger side. But I think we'll be able to set him, given that we aren't versing him in Adelaide, because, I mean, I remember watching that game last year in Adelaide. It was probably Adelaide's best game for the year at Gather Round. We got touched up by like 50 points. They just had that home ground advantage. But I'd go in pretty confident, I think, this week. I'd be pretty happy with how we're tracking, even though last week was a bit of an arm wrestle. But Fremantle are a pretty quality side.
Well, let's face it, the weather won't be a problem. It's not at the G, it's at Marvel. So that probably evens it up a touch. Adelaide gets to play their running game where they can. Lovey, what's your thoughts? Where's Adelaide going to get Carlton if they can get him?
The only way I see Adelaide winning this is if their dysfunctional forward line actually operates effectively for a change. They've had so many inside 50s in the first 4 weeks. I've done nothing with them. Yep. It's frightening to think. And there's a lot of other clubs that have probably just one key tall forward that can fire. And when he's not going, the rest of your forward line can really suffer. So it puts a heap of pressure on your mids and your half forwards to kick goals as well. And they just, a couple of them are even having second-year club blues or second-year career blues, some of those forwards that they had last year, Rankin and Rochelle, just haven't fired a shot yet. But the big worry is Taylor Walker. You keep writing this bloke off, and he always comes back at some stage. But if he's not firing, where's the big version of Fogarty? He just can't seem to get into a game when they need him most. And people underestimate how much they're missing Thilthorpe as well. His form and his presence, just as someone you can kick it to. That's what Essendon have got Peter Wright. I look at it from our perspective. We have 2 metre Peter when he's available. It just takes the pressure off of trying to pinpoint a pass or trying to pinpoint a lead. You can have that taller boy up forward, and they just have none of any of that. So that's where they would get them, but I can't see them getting near Carlton this weekend. And I know that they'll be hungry. It's one thing to be hungry. It's another to actually be talented and skillful enough to actually get the job done as well, and they just don't have it at the moment. So I've got Carlton winning by about 52 points.
All right, well, there's a nice flip for Andre to get a little bit more comfortable with. Cuz, what's your thoughts? I know good teams are built from the back, mate. Carlton is definitely been a fellow previous backman yourself, mate. What do you see the biggest strengths in Carlton?
Jacob Wheeling is a champion. Just the way he just sort of sets up everything behind the ball. And I heard Patrick Cripps get interviewed on SEN, I think, this morning, and he actually said he's like a brick wall, and that's the best way. But he's a brick wall, as Lovey said. He's got the talent and the skill to know when to leave his man, when to stay at home. And I think that gives his mids and his forwards confidence that on the rare occasion that it goes into defence, Carlton back their ability to get it out, run it out, and then do it now with a bit of system. And I suppose you look at, and Andre being a passionate fan would see their system now to their system, say, 18 months, 2 years ago, as to how it's not just kick it up and we hope Curnow or someone marks it. There's a bit of system, and they've, as opposed to Adelaide, who they're playing this week, the synergy between Curnow and Mackay is fantastic. Whereas you look at the disconnection between, and look, he's been a champion of the game, but Lovey touched on with Taylor Walker, he just seems to be totally out of it. I know he's come back before, but there seems to be no connection between their backs to their mids to their forwards, and I think that's why they're one struggling to get a score. And I think, like Lovey said, they'll get done this week, Adelaide, by 10 goals plus if Carlton bring their best.
This is the thing, and this goes back to their recruiting. There was an article earlier in the week, not recruiting, they're drafting. And if you go back to 2017, you're now 7 years advanced. The guys they brought in, none of them are keys. None of them are key, either forwards or defenders. I mean, you can draft key forwards at 18, 19 years of age. You can blend them as defenders. They can go back as key forwards in their mid-20s. Adelaide haven't done any of that. And the issue is Tex isn't the fault in all this. I think it gets back to just what's your plan B and plan C up forward? Like, how else are you going to go about being effective and dangerous forward? They just don't have it. So I think they're going to really battle for the rest of the year, to be honest.
Do you reckon they also thought Fogarty was going to be more of a forward than he is? They were probably betting on.
You know what? Yeah. This is where some clubs deliberately pump up the tyres of a certain player, and knowing he's just going to be an also-ran. So he's from an era probably 15, 20 years removed, like that big chunky forward that gets up the ground. But you watch when you play the game. You watch how Adelaide play, and then you watch the defending team come out. I'll be amazed if Carlton don't go through Fogarty to get out of defence at least 10 times on the weekend. And it's not through a want of trying. He just can't move. And they signed him to a deal, and it's a bit of corn in it now. And I don't see them how they can really get out of it that easily. So, yeah, he's a so-so forward.
Yeah, I think, I also think, like, running it through him, like, I think now that Boyd's come into his sort of he's sort of had a few breakout games. He's got that confidence. And then you got Sard there. Just handed to those. And then with the likes of Williams as well, running it through, I don't see them sort of – their pressure forwards aren't – I think that's why I back us at both ends. I don't see – now that Mackay sort of had something clicked in, which thank God that he sort of clicked into gear, and him and Charlie just feeding off each other. You got the crumbs. I just think at both ends, whether it's – even if it's even in the middle, when it gets to both ends, I back us, pretty comfortably there, because there's not many two worries for us. I think I wouldn't say 50 points. I'd like to think at least 6 goals for us, if I don't want to be too ahead of myself.
No, pump it.
All right, fine. 10 goals.
Yeah. Look, you never ever want it closer than 10 goals as a supporter to be comfortable, and these matches are getting very tight these days. When you're a little bit off, they get tighter and tighter, and the pockets seem to get smaller and smaller, and you tend to kick a lot more out of bounds as you do, especially over in Gather Round anyway at Norwood Footy Oval. So it's a challenge. Look, nice wide ground at Marvel. I think the Blues, if they get it right, really open them up. But who are we missing, Andre? Just give me. Obviously, it takes an entire team to start playing well. Well, we all know the superstars. The half a dozen superstars you've really got coming through your team. But who are you kind of, from 10 to maybe 13 or 14 on the list? They're kind of the ones that'll really start to drag the next level of Carlton, and then they'll bring along the younger blokes. So, just identify a couple of those favourite players for you that are kind of not first picked, not first household names.
I was just saying before, I think the small forwards, so Boyd and Durden, I think Boyd's backman, but he's got a couple more games. I just see, especially last week, just that confidence to run through, take the game on, and then Durden at the other end, that pressure forward. He stood up very well against North Melbourne. I'm really loving what they're doing, but I also think now that the depth's there, even some boys in the reserves, like I'm a big fan. He hasn't played this year, but he played pretty much most of last year. Chincotta. He was someone that came through as a mature age recruit, and he's someone that's knocking down the door. He's probably been stiff. He's probably one of my favourites, and I'd love to see him play a few more games. But, look, having Williams back in, that probably hasn't been spoken about much. He was absolutely huge, I think, for us over the weekend. And he set up a few critical goals, especially the Charlie in that last quarter. So I think those blokes down the back, the smaller players, I think have been doing really well. And, look, he's probably getting a bit of praise now, but Cottrell, he's been a favourite of mine a long time. I see when I go watch him live, I used to play wing myself. So I used to, watch a lot of the wingmen and just seeing how much that bloke covers on the ground. It's just great to see. Everyone talks about how fit he is, but if you actually just watch how he's, for one end, similar to Akers, but he's a lot quicker, Cottrell, just how he gets from one end to the other. And, when you get more games under your belt at such a high level, you start to get more confident and you start to be cleaner with your skills. And I think that's what a lot of people are seeing now. So, just those those smaller blokes I'm loving. Because, look, everyone comes to see Charlie, Cripps, Walshy, Akers, but those blokes I've been loving, the smaller guys. Yeah. Being a small guy myself, we don't really get seen too much.
Andre, one of my mates is a passionate Carlton supporter. He raves about George Hewitt. What do you think about him as what he's brought to the table since he's come over from the Swans?
Yeah, look, I can't believe I forgot about him, Hewitt. I was a big fan of him when he was at Sydney, and I was pretty happy that we got him on board. And I think what he's added to the team is not having Cripps go in for the in and under so much. So with him and Kennedy, so when they go through the midfield, they're very in and under players. So, because Cripps had to carry so much of that load through those late 2010 years when he was a young player. But now I think, he's a real hard nut. I think gets a lot of in and under, not a flashy player from what I've seen, but a good accumulator, I think, for us. So, just adding depth to that midfield.
Because you seem to have most layers covered now, as you said before. As cliche as it sounds, you've got a lot of blokes who know their role and play their role very well.
Yeah. Well, it's like my dad. My dad and I have chats all the time, and I think it's just what we struggled with probably, I think, from about late 2010s to, a couple of years back, we didn't have the depth. Like our not to say that our VFL teams thrive and stuff, but there are blokes there in that side that could easily play in AFL, and I think it was when Melbourne had their successful years, their VFL team was just as successful. And I think it's nice when you have depth and no serious injuries. I think that's what helps a pretty successful side. And I think we've seen that for the last few premiers, I would argue.
Yep.
I think that's what we've had. And I think they're all clicking. Like the system you guys touched on it before, just the system to see everyone's on the same page. Everyone knows what they're doing. The players are allowed to play their sort of way, like Sard's allowed to take on the game a little bit more, do what he wants to do. And then Charlie at the other end, he doesn't have to carry the whole time because, Harry's doing his thing. So it's a nice, it's a fresh take, I think, this season and a half, I think, of what we've seen so far.
Yep.
I think the only other thing I'll say is that, and I go back to that that stuff about the opposition forward half, and you could get, I think, 3 to 4 years ago, the way you play now, maybe 2 to 3 or 4 years ago, you probably would have been exposed horribly, like Essendon do at the moment through the middle of the ground. Like you've got your defenders push up really high, but they've got like you might remember Clarko's cluster from quite a number of years ago now. It's amazing how footy sometimes can advance so far, yet the simple things stay the same. And I think the way your guys play high up the ground, if you've got lazy forwards, they just would rather hang back, or they would rather just try and not counteract what you guys do from a push up the ground perspective, and just makes it a lot easier when your defenders are willing to push up and back themselves and back their system, and there's a back 6 to 8 group of players. And it's, I hate saying it, but geez, it's been impressive. Like Vossi's second time as a coach. It's a shame he couldn't do it at his own home club many years ago, but that's the other thing I look at. There's a lot more maturity around the way Vossi's coaching now, and he tried to complicate things at Brisbane. Didn't work. Things are quite simple the way Carlton play. It's just logical football. So kudos to a shit club. Well done.
Yeah, no.
But believe me, Andre, that's a compliment. Take that. That's a compliment.
Yeah, no, don't worry. Don't worry. I think. Look, I just don't. I'd love to come back on once we beat the Bombers, and that'll sort of be a good talking point.
Oh, here we go.
That'll be a big week.
We'll definitely.
You know what?
You told me to pump it up. I'll pump it up. Don't worry.
You know what, Peter Andre? If that happens, I'm more than happy to wear the slap across the face, mate. More than happy to. Always have.
Yeah.
But,
fantastic.
Yeah.
We will set that up for sure. We're going to talk about a couple of things just a little bit previous to your lifetime as a Blues supporter as well, mate. We're going to touch on that. But I got a chance to talk to the great Dennis Pagan today and sit down and have a chat to him. We've got a couple of things on the go, and it was really nice to hear when I mentioned to him that I was having a chat about Carlton tonight, that he's still got such high respect and regard for Carlton on an era that, wasn't necessarily the best, and he was ridiculed a fair bit across that time, and he probably had Carlton at quite a tough time when the real expectation of success was there, and it was a case of do anything for success. But he still loves the Blues, and he thinks Vossi is onto something, and he definitely thinks if he had a list like that at the time, he would love to have got his hands on this set of Blues. So that's really nice to hear from a previous Blue bagger, and he's offered to come on the show eventually at some time during the year. So that'll be a really nice chat. So stay tuned for that one, everyone. But fantastic. All right, Cuz, it's your moment. So feel free to hang around, Andre, while we cover this one off, and then we're going to go with a couple of tips on the rest of the game. But this is a little section we call Cuz's Classics.
Like the 89 grand final, Cuz's Classic. Like a dim sim, Cuz's Classic. It's what the crowd come to see, Cuz's Classics.
Andre's reaction sums up how this might really go. So hopefully he gets some enjoyment out of this. The boys like to challenge me with the Cousins Classic. I often don't bring much at the table, Andre. So with the theme of tonight being about how well the blue bag is flying, I sort of went back into the archives, and apologies that obviously some of this you would only have heard it for the history lessons. But in my mind, I spoke to my sister about what her and I thought was sort of Carlton's, over their history, sort of 5 big moments in their club. Unfortunately for Lovely and I, the Bombers appear in 2 of them, so you can probably guess what they might be, but I'll give you the ones I've got. So we go back to 1968, long before we were all born. Carlton actually won the grand final. They beat the Bombers, but they actually kicked less goals than Essendon. They kicked 7 goals, 14. Essendon kicked 8 goals, 5. So bit of history there. So that was the first of many successes.
Righto, here we go. Let's roll the tape.
Bit of vision for you.
Up comes Chandler to take his kick. It's going forward. They come out to meet it. They fly. Jones had it all the way. Jones is 50 yards out, directly in front to the Richmond end. Peter Jones needs a big hoof. Puts his boot behind it. It's offline.
Out of bounds.
1 point. Out of bounds.
And pushing through now. It's
Robertson loses control of the ball. Barry Davis is still going. He goes to the ground.
Should have been a
ball
up. Should have been a push to back to Davis.
A ball up. Are these boys weary? Oh, believe me, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Going on to 28 and a half minutes gone now. There they go, the bounce of the ball. Nichols goes up there with McKenzie. It's going to go over the boundary line. It's on Carlton's half-forward flank on the member stand side. Where is Crosswell playing? Oh, golly's bobbing up everywhere.
Throw in now on the centre wing with the time ticking away in the 68 grand final. McKenzie and Nichols. They punched it over towards Davis. McKenzie takes it. The kick smothered. He tries to wrestle.
The neck to McKenzie.
Siren's gone. The siren's gone. Has it? Yes. Look at this. We couldn't hear the siren. Carlton are premiers. 8-5, 53 Essendon. Carlton 7-14, 56. Carlton are premiers.
Yeah, so I thought you might enjoy that. You might have seen number 21 for Essendon there was Ken Fletcher, Dustin Fletcher's dad. Peter McKenna also played on the side for Collingwood. Brent Coswell, Percy Jones, I think, played in 79 and 81 Carlton flag. So, yeah, a lot of good players and good game of footy, supposedly. Like you, then I wasn't born, mate. We'll move on. A couple of years later, 1970. Alan will never speak to me again after this. The same commentary team, I think, Butch Gale and Mike Williamson with Jesselenko, You Beauty, and the Blue Boys coming back from 44 points down at half-time. Visionaires, do you have any?
Who am I looking for? 79.
No, got 70? Or you nothing from 70, Jesselenko, You Beauty?
Move on. Next.
No, we'll move on. No, it's okay. It's okay. And then 79. We all know about 1979. I actually coached a bit of footy against Wayne Harms later on in life, and according to Harmsy, the ball was in, but he speak to most people who follow in black and white. He tapped it in from behind the toilet block in the southern stand. So let's have a look at 1979, a great grand final.
Righto, the old question, you be the judge.
Mark, as we wait now for Roster to bring the ball back into play.
Jesselenko getting a huge round of applause as he comes around the boundary line, but back to the play. Moore got high, tried for the screamer. It didn't work though. Anderson grabbed. We're not in possession. He must get a free kick, surely. No. It's going Carlton's way and it will be taken by Francis. Francis up from the back pocket goes for the long kick towards the centre wing position. Johnson was behind the pack. It's socked away by Keogh. Down towards the half-forward line. Harms tries to pick it up. Buckley gets it out to Harms now. He's pursued by Brewer, but he can't catch him. Harms fires at the goals, but he's off target. It's rolling towards the boundary line, and Harms almost makes ground. He taps it back to Sheldon. It's a goal! Oh, what a goal! If you don't mind, Harms is almost as quick as the kick. That's his third, Sheldon. Oh, that was the goal of the match. Although Harms didn't kick it, it was a remarkable piece of play. A remarkable piece of play. Let's watch the Jesselenko injury. while we check the scores, and Jesselenko falling very, very heavily there. It's Collingwood 10-11, 71. Carlton 11-15, 81. Back to 10 points the difference.
Back to the centre now. Can Collingwood get back? Oh, he missed that more completely. There's a chance for Marcoux to get out. But he's grabbed and the umpire will ball it up at centre field. A little bit down towards Collingwood centre half forward position. Carlton in front by 10 points. 18 minutes gone. Still plenty of time for the Magpies, if they're good enough. Carlton hanging on.
The old if they're good enough. You got to love that.
The interesting thing about that is a lot of people believe that actually put Carlton in front. As you saw, Carlton were actually already in front. It just put them further in front.
Yeah.
So we move on to one of the greatest Carlton players of all time, Mark Bosuster, who is one of the rare breed who's managed to win the goal of the year and the mark of the year in the same year in 1981.
Righto.
Both against the Cat.
Here's the goal.
Mark, as we wait now for Austin to bring the ball back into play.
Jesselenko getting off the back. Ian Nankervis once more. Doing a great job. Well smothered though by Bosuster. Picks it up and has a snapshot at goal and has put it through.
Not a bad goal, but I think it might have been a bit of a lean year. Let's face it. There was there's got to be better goals than that in a whole year, surely. What do you think, Lovey? Can't have been the best goal of the year.
This shit just makes me vomit. This whole thing.
But he took the mark of the year against the Cats as well, though. So in the return game later in the year at Princes Park.
It's definitely a famous name, and I'm sure you've heard the name Bosusto plenty of times as you grow up as a kid. As if your twin brother, Mark, who knows? For all the Blues, you know, when you get named after people, who knows? Who knows? But Bosusto, one of the greats.
Off the back, Ian Nankervis once more. Doing a great job. Well smothered though by Bosusto. Picks it up and has a snapshot at goal and has put it through.
There it is. What a goal. It gets better the more times you watch it, but I don't know if necessarily it was the absolute best of the year. But anyway, here we go with the one of the greatest marks too.
Attacking at this quarter.
Bosusto again.
Sailing goalwards into Bosusto.
A great mark.
The winner, after much deliberation, our commentators and panellists have given great thought to the Neil Nilsson Mark of the Year, and you're not going to believe it, or perhaps you may, but the winner once again of the Mark of the Year is Carlton's Peter Bosusto. So, Peter, we'll talk about the daily double in racing as we have a look at it in action. A magnificent mark. No, David Mackay doesn't look at all impressed by that, but nevertheless.
That is great.
How shit was Geelong that year?
and lastly, but by no means least for Carlton supporters and for Lovey and I, a very painful one. I think there was a mud punter who I think they backed Labor to win the election, Carlton to win the prelim, and there's something else, I think an NRL game or something, which was quite huge odds. And unfortunately for the Bombers and Liberal voters, all these things happened in 1999 prelim, which is
I love
what a shit day. What a shit day.
Get fucked.
There we go.
It'll be a throw in. A minute 18 left. Carlton by 2 points. Unbelievable tension. I think we'd almost forgotten what a decent final was like. But if this is it, give us more. The Bombers' last roll of the dice, maybe. Johnson. Is it going to be the young guns? He almost threw it out to Masidi. It looked like a throw. It doesn't matter now. Play on. They need a mark. Alessio in front. Who's at the back? Mercury! One behind. Victor Wallace, the mean bad man. Can he cover himself in glory? He's lost it, and Murphy takes it away. That could be the turnover that cost them. Murphy goes towards the half-forward line. Ratner's got it. He'll take his time, and that could just about seal it. Murphy drops in the hole on the 50. He'll pick himself up very slowly.
What about the tackle by Fraser Brown back here at half back?
That's the ball game. If it had gone to Fletcher, he could have bombed it from that distance. The luck of the draw in a final. This is just an incredible comeback by the Carlton Football Club. They are into the grand final. Carlton is into the grand final. In 1993, they prevailed. They went to Sydney in 96 and the Bombers lost their last preliminary final, Sandy, by 1 point. In a finish very similar to this. They'll be singing the old Navy blues long and hard into the night tonight as they prepare for yet another grand final.
Well, interesting enough, preparing for a grand final is one thing. Winning it's the next hardest thing to do. And they say they partied long and hard into the night for the prelim. Well, that might have cost them a grand final.
Maybe too hard.
Sadly. And touching on Dennis Pagan before, 99 was the great year that North Melbourne got over the line. So, geez, it was a good era. It was a good era for footy growing up as a Melbourne supporter. Good year for the Bombers around that time, and obviously went on to better things in 2000. But what a great era to be in amongst footy as you're kind of growing up as a young kid, mate. It's that's the kind of stuff you touch on or you look back on as you get older as a kid, and you think this is what shaped you to become a Carlton man. Mate, it's a great thing, footy. We're all passionate about it and we all love it. And we all love it down at local level as well. But I wanted to touch on just one thing with you, mate, and that's the world of umpiring. And I know that's one of your loves and passions now, although you've kind of kicked off and started Boundary.
That's the twin brother.
Yeah, Mark. That's right, Mark. But yeah. I wanted to touch on umpiring in general, really.
Yep.
Now I know, where there's a love for umpiring, there's a brother that really wants to be an umpire as well. That's not an umpire, so he's taken up the craft. Is there ever a chance we could see the two Batulis brothers out there umpiring?
Yeah, look, I would probably follow suit on the Boundary sense. I think I wouldn't have the guts to be down in the on the field umpiring, but it is pondered my mind. He's certainly doing some great things. He's in the he's sort of progressed pretty fast. He's in the VFL development sort of squad there, so he's doing great things, and we'll see where he goes if he follows that progression. But look, it's we'll see, because I think my playing day is probably behind me. So who knows, mate? We might watch this space. Might see first at the local level, and then we'll see where we go from there. But yeah, umpiring, mate, it seems to be a bit of a hot topic, especially after the weekend. So I'm not sure if I'd really want to be in that sort of career space at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, umpiring in full
it's
respect,
we
always give them a bit of a bagging and probably underestimate how tough it really is. You get a lot of decisions wrong, and you're a human after all. But as boundary umpires, it's even tougher gig. You're running pretty phased. You're running at top speed, still trying to make a decision, and it's a tough gig. So I'd love to hear from what Mark's thoughts are. Obviously, you've probably had chats over time of how tough that really is to get a decision. Probably even tougher at local level with those wobbly boundaries, but we'd love to. We'd love to hear.
There's a few skeptical grounds in the NFNL division that way, but
really.
I think, look, seeing my brother go through it, and now that he's sort of stepped up a level, and even the VFL type things, I think people just forget to realise how fit these people actually have to be. And I think even my brother, he runs for a Division 1 game, 15 Ks, anywhere between 13 to 15 Ks. So you can only imagine what they're doing at the AFL level. And I think, look, I personally, for the field aspect, I would have expected to see a bit more of an improvement having the 4 umpires there. But whether or not that complicates it more at the elite level, who knows? It's certainly a tougher gig. So I always say, it's certainly shifted my perspective having my brother in that field now, because even he's sort of copping abuse at the local level, and it's like you think, what for? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think some people just forget. And Mark always says whenever he cops it, he'd love him to hop over the other side of the fence and do it for him if they think they're a little bit better. I mean, sure, we're all going to be passionate supporters, and I mean, don't get me wrong, I still have a few, words about some umpiring decisions, but I think we all do that at some point in the game.
Yeah,
it's the decision that should be the priority, right? So by all means, disagree with the decision, but when it gets personal and when it starts being about the umpire and not the decision or not the game, then you just walk away, just piss off. No one wants you at the game and you're like that. So,
Well, shout out to
hopefully that's changed a bit too. Sorry to cut you off there, Andre. Hopefully we're a bit more accepting that, look, they are humans and they are going to make mistakes. And as Lovely said, if you look, they got that wrong, that decision, whether it's an AFL local level, but then move on. Because in most games that are won and lost, it's more skill errors from the players than it is from the umpires.
I think, you say you'd like to see it change, but I remember sitting there at the Adelaide Oval and, there was this young Carlton supporter who probably would have been, I don't think, any older than 9-10 years old, and he was having a few personal words about the umpire in the crowd, and you're thinking it's just a generational thing. I think and he was using pretty explicit language, mind you, and you just think, crap, like, is this changing? Is it not? But I agree with you guys. You can have disagreements with the decision, but if you start directing and very much personally attacking someone, it's like a player. You know what I mean? Like, you're yelling stuff over the fence. It's the same thing. You can not like a player for how they're playing, but you start to do racial, personal attacks. There's no place for it. Absolutely no place for it.
Yeah. Well, look, I'd love to hear that we can eventually have more AFL players become umpires. We've seen it at kind of goal level, and I think we might have had one or two come into the umpiring ranks as such. But I don't know if have we hit a field umpire yet?
Jordan Bannister.
That's right. Yeah,
Jordan Bannister.
Lee Fisher's another one.
He did end up a field umpire.
Continuing the Carlton team, I think Carazzo was doing a bit of field.
Yeah, Carazzo.
I'm not sure what level.
Yep.
I mean, Dave Roden's probably arguably the most colourful goal umpire I've seen since the poor bastard that fell over when someone ran through him in a grand final in the 70s. So,
but that bloke you talked about, Lovey, the best thing about that was the delay. Like, the ball was almost back to the movie and went.
It was like one of the MCC members was carrying a shotgun, just bang, he was sniping him.
Yeah, well, a shout out to all the umpires out there, and a shout out to your brother as well, Mark. He is doing some great things. But I'd love to see you out there umpiring, Andre, because you're probably one of the fittest guys I know, mate. So I know you'd be easily able to do it. But speaking of umpires, we always play this little clip, and we have to play it again.
Just relax.
He loves it.
Okay? We don't talk to one another like that. It's okay.
One of the greats. Changed umpiring.
The best thing about that is how good's, like, Sean Grigg laughed, but Tom Roxliffe's thinking, what's he doing? What's he talking about?
Yeah, I'd love to see more of that interaction still. I think we've really lost that now with the can't say this, can't say that. You genuinely almost can't ask a question, and it cost one of the teams on the weekend heavily in that respect. But all we know with Carlton, mate, thanks for talking about the Blues tonight. Stay on if you want, and we can quickly run through some tips that we're going to do. But the best part about Carlton, I think we've found out from tonight, is this.
Nothing.
So you're telling me there's a chance? Yeah!
That'll be me times 100. Like I said, in 3 weeks' time, if we're still undefeated, don't worry. Check in on me. Who knows? I'll be outside the MCC trying to get tickets.
If they win the next 3 years, we've got to get Andre back on just to see how much the lid's blown off.
Absolutely. We're welcome anytime, mate. And let's finish this little bit before we jump into the tips with just a little bit of this. We all love this, let's face it. All right, not too much.
I love it.
Not too much.
Singing it
But
loud
you've been
and
great, Andre. I know it's short notice. I put a little thing out to a few Carlton fans, and a couple are going to jump on, and a couple got fear factor come amongst them, mate. But it's been fantastic to have you on and state your case
Thanks,
for the Blues.
boys.
Maybe they are the real
Thanks,
deal
boys.
after all. We'll soon see.
Who knows, mate? Nah, boys, thank you. I've watched a few of your shows. I love it. Thanks for having me on. It's been great to chat footy.
No worries. You're welcome anytime, mate. Boys, we're going to get
Thanks, Andre.
We're going to get into a few quick tips, boys. Let's bring this up.
That was shit. That's been hard. That's been hard, Yaka. Most of the night.
It was a hard hour, so let's get into a bit of fun and have a bit of a joke. Look, let's face it, Carlton are a good team, had been a good team. We hope may it not continue to become a good team. They're on the rise, but let's see in a couple of weeks' time when all will be revealed if they're good enough. But all right, let's move to tomorrow night, boys. Thursday night, 2nd versus 13th. Are we giving? I don't mean to sound cocky, mate, but are we giving the Lions a chance at all, knocking off the Demons?
No,
I don't think so, mate. I think you're not being smart. I think your mob are just playing good footy at the moment, better footy than them.
Yeah, well, let's hope that continues.
Melbourne got 61 points.
Yeah, well, let's hope so. Melbourne then go into a bye after that, so it's a really turning point moment of how
we know you enjoy non-close games, Aaron. So
correct.
I'm trying to help you out there.
No heart stoppers, please.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. So we're all hoping the Demons by 10 goals plus. Let's see. That's at the G tomorrow night. Then we move into Friday night action. Western Bulldogs versus your Bombers, boys. 8s versus 12s. Bulldogs are coming a little bit. Bombers would like to quickly right the wrong of last week and bounce back. Boys, we know there's a lot of pressure now on the Bulldogs. I think probably more pressure than the Bombers right now in this week. What's your thoughts? Are the Bombers going to get it done?
I think. Do you go? I think you go, mate.
It's the Bomb versus the Edge, right? So let's be really clear as to where this whole thing stands.
Yep.
I actually think there is a lot of pressure on Essendon, and I say that because I, as a member and as a supporter for so many years, I'm just so sick and tired of the platitudes and we're gonna do really good things for the year and all the rest of it. Yet we're exactly where we've been since 2007. So I just don't believe a single thing that comes out of that club until I start seeing results. Look, if you can somehow stop, not Bond, if you can somehow stop Liberatore getting the feed out, then yes, that's where you beat the Dogs. Liberatore is the most important player in that team. Ain't no bones about that. Without him, they don't get the footy at all. So if you stop Libby, you stop the Dogs a bit. I'm a bit of a Debbie Downer with Essendon a bit, but I actually think we can win this by about 14 points. I really do. I think if we're going to bounce back, this is the best way of doing it.
Yep. Cuz, thoughts?
Yeah, look, I like Lovey. I love him, but I'm frustrated with him too. Like, it's become the same old sort of thing. I think, again, not to copy Lovey, but he is the distributor. God, I've had a mental blank. Liberatore. If they stop Libba and be accountable, it gives us a chance. But as I said, look, we've got to take. At some stage in our club's recent history, we've got to make a stance and not an edge and not that sort of crap. Just come to play for 4 quarters. Now, that might not be wins where we are at the moment, but we need to get a style of play. as we've said on the show a couple of times before, this year and last year, we need a brand. You can call it the edge, whatever. Just keep delivering. Now, that might not mean finals this year. That might not mean finals next year, but we need to start doing something about our club. And I think we've got an opportunity to do it this week.
Cuz, don't answer it tonight. Answer it next potty. Let me know what you think our games, what you think our game plan and game style actually is. You've got some homework, because I, for the life of me, can't see what it is. So.
Oh, yeah. I was talking to a good friend of the show, Hayden Stanton, about that last week. What is our game plan? It doesn't seem to be one.
Yeah, well, that's your homework for the next week, mate.
Yep, all good.
Righto.
But Dad, after all that, I'll give him a chance, though.
I got the Bombers by 20, so there you go. I'm a little bit half.
Sort of wish you hadn't said that, mate.
Let's keep the jinx continuing.
Can you start a doggies by 80? Can you change your tip?
Yeah. So we move into Saturday, GWS versus a winning form, St Kilda at the moment. Who knows? Surely GWS too good, boys.
Yeah, easy.
I don't rate St Kilda at all. I've got
6 goals
GWS. Yep, same here.
Yep.
Just defensively, GWS defensively, just elite. They're just really good, and Lockie Whitfield's back to what he was doing 2 years ago. So, they're flying.
Yeah, and I think back up there, they'll be ready to go for sure, and hanging to get another home win, or get a home win up there. So, all right, we move on to Carlton, Adelaide, which we've covered off. We think. Did we get a tip from you two boys? I know we obviously got one from Andre, but we thought roughly they should be a
Carlton
10 goals.
62.
Yep.
Yeah, I think Carlton 10 goals plus, easy. Yep.
Righto. All right, let's move on to the Suns and Hawthorn in the battle for finals supremacy for us. If the Suns can get there, there's a big cat on the table for this one. So let's see. 10th versus 16th. Hawks were impressive, I thought, in the latter half of that game against the Pies, and almost stole it. So 10th versus 16th, boys, up there in the Gold Coast.
Because it's up at the Gold Coast, I'll tip Gold Coast, the Suns. But you're right. Look, as much as that little scumbag, Sammy Mitchell's coaching them, they're doing okay. Like they pushed Geelong Easter as well, if you recall. So, their form guide would suggest they're far better than third last. But I think this is where Gold Coast just has to take these sort of games and just rip them by about 40 plus points if they're going to be if they're serious about what they want to do. I don't think you can see that Dimmer doesn't put up with shit. He did that at selection table last week a little bit. Look, Gold Coast should win this by 40 points. They should have it done by three-quarter time. But Hawthorn are competitive. They're fine. They'll be all right in a couple of years, but it's not their turn. It's not their turn this weekend.
Yep. As you know, Cuz, the secret is don't give them a chance. So got to be out in front early, and don't let them in. Right? Don't let them in. So we know the Hawks can finish fast, and they have once they get a bit of a run on. They can be a bit of an elite unit. They got some great kids there in amongst that Hawthorn group. They're just a bit early, as we know. Cuz, what's your thoughts on margin?
Look, as Lovey said, I think about 5 goals plus. I think the Hawks are doing the right thing and travelling in the right direction for longer term. Yeah. But as Lovey also said, the stance and the sort of statement that Hardwick made last week, getting rid of not so much driftwood, but sort of older players who are close to the end of their career and sort of putting in 3 new young blokes who held their own pretty well, that he's making a statement and trying to back up his statement about 80% of the club is already, or their next membership's already on their list, so will come from this group. So I think they're building, and according to Champion Data, they did all the things right last week against a good side, but just didn't win the game. So I think if they want to go to that next level, make the 8, they need to win this game and win it pretty comfortably.
I do think it was almost the best game last week.
It was a great game.
If anyone watched that game,
Yep.
Gold Coast pushed a premiership fancy quite hard. So it's not like Gold Coast are just battling. They're playing some good football, but they've just got to make sure they don't drop those bullshit games that they've been prone to do ever since they came into existence, or a few years after that. They've got to nail these games.
Well, I think Gold Coast had a good week. I think Hawthorn had a good week too. So it's timely that these two play each other, which I can't split them, boys. I've got a draw. I got the first draw. Gold Coast should win, but I think it might be a little bit closer than people are giving.
Well, if it's a draw and it costs them finals, my ankle stays intact. Nice.
That's right. That's exactly right. So we move.
Sorry, Az, just remind us again. What's the tattoo again, mate? Lovey?
It's about the size of a 20-cent piece. It's just the Gold Coast logo with finals 24 underneath that.
Yep.
So, did I have to win a final or just make the finals?
No, make it.
Come on, Glenn. Pay attention. From last
week. I'm just clarifying. I know you're trying to worm your way out of it. That's all.
Just got to make the finals. Happy to get the tat.
He's ready to go. Ready to go. All right. Port versus Freo. 6th versus 7th. I know you're a bit of a favourite for the Freo Dockers, Lovey. Maybe a year early, but not this week. Port are going to be after dropping.
One thing Essendon's very, very good at, it's occasionally playing teams into some red-hot form. And, the fact that you allow Jason Horne-Francis to dominate the way he did, he's a good midfielder, but he's not in the elite bracket, but we made him look absolutely exceptional last week. Yep. But having said that, they've got Rosie, they've got Wines, they've got Butters. Along with GWS and Gold Coast, they're probably the three best mids in the midfield groups in the competition, along with Melbourne and Carlton. So I anticipate Port Adelaide will win this. Fremantle just doesn't have the midfield depth to go with Port, unfortunately. They've got a reasonable midfield, but it's not the same as Port's. The only thing that will stop Port winning this will be if their key forwards are having brain farts. And we know Charlie Dixon possibly can. Obviously, Finlayson's out through some negative language from last week. So, they've still got to make sure they kick the score, Port Adelaide. And, Fremantle are okay defensively with Pearce and the likes down there. But I've got Port winning this by 3 goals. I think they get over it probably early in the last. They start pulling away a touch.
Yep. All right. Let's move into Cats versus North. 5th versus 17th. It's about that gap, isn't it, boys? Sure, the Cats make a mess of them.
This could be dependent on the weather. This could be the first 100-point drubbing for the year. Depends how the Cats handle it. If the Cats go in and say maybe rest a few blokes, or the Cats go in full swagger, they could really, really smash North, like 80 to 100 points easily.
Well, they're playing down at the GMHBA. I reckon they'll probably want to put out a decent team. So
yeah, I think they want to make a bit of a statement. I don't think the resting blokes come round 5, mate. I think there's a little bit of work to do yet. Don't get ahead of yourself, Cats. Just bank this one and bank it solid. Make a bit of a statement, I reckon, is my little chestnut word of advice. But I'm thinking, Cats. This one, I'm keen on. I'm keen on 100+ belting too, just to put Clarko back under Struggle Street. And then we move to Struggle Street itself. 18th versus 14th. West Coast versus Richmond. This is tough. For the Tigers.
West Coast.
But I reckon the West Coast might just get them. I just got this funny feeling.
You reckon Wet Toaster's going to win this?
I've got a funny feeling, mate.
Wet Toast. I like that, Elton. I think I give them a big chance, West Coast. Big chance.
Nah, fuck them. Nah, they're shit. They are absolutely putrid. The fact that the 18-year-old's their best player already says something. So, I got Richmond winning this by about 6 goals.
Righto. What's your margin, Cuz?
On your Eddie Zammit.
West. Yeah, apologies to Eddie Zammit. West Coast by 10 points.
Stupid.
West Coast by a point.
Even more shit.
Just loves it.
Flight back for Dusty. I don't. Does Dusty play? Do you bother? Do you take him over?
Will he be sober?
Played 1 week.
Yeah.
Played pretty well.
Look,
a skiddy deck.
They're in a position. They've got to play him. If he's fit, he plays. He has to play. So, especially with Lynch out and Bolter, I think they've got to play as many of their good footballers as they can. So, he plays. He has to. If he's fit, he plays.
Yep. All right, boys. I think that locks in another week. Collingwood and Swans, obviously the bye this week. It's great that we don't have to hear from Rusty blabbering about his Swannies. And there's got to be
pies.
We might have to review the pies depending on their results. We might not.
No, mate. You know we're doing next week, don't you?
Anzac.
Red and blue, mate, in the corner, mate. About time we brought up your mob and put the mozzo on them.
Oh, happy to have a chat, mate. Any stage.
No. If we can arrange for Berkey to talk about the pies next week,
that would be good.
It'll be entertaining. I think that's Berkey. I know you're watching, mate. So get ready, champ, because you're just as shit as the Blues are.
Correct. All right, boys. Thanks for the chat tonight. We've racked up an hour and a half nearly. It's always good to have a chat. Great to have Queenie on. We spent a little bit extra with her. Andre Batulis, thanks, mate. It's been great to have a chat to you. It's good to see a new generation of Blues that probably haven't gone through the good times, and nor have they gone through the full pain yet. But I think there's maybe a bit of light at the end of the tunnel for the Blues. The interesting part is who's next on the rebuild, and who can get it done in the next few years, and who are also, we'll talk about in the next couple of weeks, who are the great disappointments in their eras that they should have won more. We'll talk about that one in the next few weeks.
Okay.
There might be a
the Bombers might come up again.
That's kind of why we're planning to do it.
Look at it. Like it's just a cat just grinning away. Like it's all funny.
All right, boys. Over and out.
So just so we're clear, this podcast was set up to help with mental health, right?
Yeah. And you're killing us.
You're going to put us through that shit next week.
Well, we'll talk about the good times. We might bring up 2000. Who knows? And that classic punch on at halftime that was well documented. But we could talk about that another day.
Oh, the fair bump from Michael Longmore, Troy Simmons. Yeah, no, fair call.
Correct. All right, boys. Over and out.
See you, lad. Good fun.